State, former CIA director, and a Fox News contributor now with us. Great to see you. Welcome, as always, Mike. Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Martha.
So, let's talk about this issue of continued bombing in Iran. We've seen strikes over the last several nights. We've seen retaliation from the Iranian side. Where do you think this is going? And, what do you think that the actual goal is of this bombing campaign that we're in the middle of right now?
Martha, my sense is the goal is really very straightforward. It's consistent with what President Trump's been talking about since the beginning. We're going to diminish the Iranian capability to control the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to continue to put in place an economic blockade, an economic pressure campaign against the Iranian regime, and ultimately convince the Iranians to change the nature of the regime. And that's how you ultimately get rid of their nuclear weapons program, which has been at the center of President Trump's conversation on this since I've known him, to be honest with you, since I became the CIA director back in 2017. And so we continue to diminish their capabilities to hold hostage the Strait of Hormuz. That'll ultimately let product, urea, fertilizer, oil, crude, processed, transit the strait. And then every day that we blockade stuff that's moving out of Iran is, call it $500 million worth of loss to the Iranian regime. That pressure will ultimately be successful at creating a regime in Iran that no longer wants to prosecute its nuclear program.
Couple of things to put in the mix here with you, Secretary. This is from the Iran's negotiator, Ghalibaf, who has been pretty central to most of the conversations. And then we know that he goes back to the IRGC leadership, and sometimes they say, yeah, we're not going to agree to any of that stuff, which has obviously frustrated President Trump quite a bit. But he posted this today, Ghalibaf: "We are in an essential and existential war with America, whose aim, besides toppling Iran's system, is to fragment our beloved country, Iran." So, you can see the leadership trying to galvanize the people of Iran, many of whom would like to see this regime gone, but some of whom have, developed some national pride even under this regime. So what is your take on the issue of toppling this regime, which you just mentioned as a goal?
Martha, I've been working on this problem set for a decade and a half, and the current regime, that set of leaders, has no incentive and no desire to stop what it's been doing. I've heard others say that, gosh, they regret what they've done for the last 47 years, blowing up a bunch of Americans in Beirut, killing a lot of my friends with IEDs in Iraq in early 2000s. These are the same cast of characters. These are the same theocratic thugs. And so when you see someone like Ghalibaf come out and say something like this is just more of the same. The music may change, but the story never gets edited. They continue to want to destroy Israel and the United States. And until this regime is fundamentally different and changed, there's no reason to believe they'll negotiate away anything that matters to America, Martha.
So you have two strategic areas now. You have the Strait, where we are bombing some of the ability to attack ships in the Strait. That's the goal on that side. We do hear the president going back to some of this original list. And General Keane told us yesterday that about 25% of the original targets are still out there. We've heard President Trump many times talk about bombing bridges, bombing infrastructure in Iran. And several times over the course of the last couple of months, he has pulled back from that and said that conversations with the Gulf states were among the reasons that he decided to change that. This is a Truth Social post on May 17. For Iran, the clock is ticking. They better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. And then the next day, I have been asked by the Emir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and the President of the UAE to hold off our planned military attack. In their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made. So where do you think the Gulf states stand at this moment, Secretary Pompeo? And will they support a sustained finishing of all of these targets, not just in the Strait, but in country as well?
Martha, you're exactly right to point out the Iran problem is at the center of the challenge in the Middle East, right? So it's a larger problem than just the United States and Iran. I think some of the Gulf states are in different places, so they're not all unified completely. But if you ask the question to Gulf Arab leaders, if the United States is prepared to help you defend your own assets, resources, and continue to finish the job to take down the Iranian capability, will you support that? They would welcome it. These are nations, some of whom joined the Abraham Accords, some of which would love to. understand that the threat doesn't come from Jerusalem. The threat doesn't come from Washington. The threat comes from Tehran. And so I think if they see an America that is prepared to stay the course and do the hard work that President Trump has already engaged in, they'd be very supportive of an effort to reduce the Iranian regime's capacity to destroy their economies. And frankly, we've seen this, fire missiles against their Muslim brothers.
It would be interesting to see them be a little bit more outspoken on this, especially since we know that at different junctures they have sort of been one of the entities that has encouraged a little bit of a pullback here. Lindsey Graham, I know, was a friend of yours, and I wonder what you think about the fact that one of his wishes right before his death was that he believed there was a deal in the works between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Martha, there is undoubtedly an additional set of countries that would love nothing more than to have stability in the Middle East, who understand that the core problem also, not only is it not in Washington or Jerusalem, it's not in Gaza, it's not the Palestinian problem. The problem is in Tehran and with radical Islamic terrorists. So I do think Senator Graham had it right, whether it's Saudi Arabia or other Muslim nations. Think of Southeast Asia as well, Malaysia, Indonesia, huge Muslim populations. They understand that their best interest is reducing the risk from radical Islam. And to the extent the United States can help them do that, I'm confident they would continue to advance the cause of peace in the Middle East, which would include joining something akin to the Abraham Accords.
Do you think that we'll see a stronger voice from Saudi Arabia, from these other countries, saying, look, we are on the same side as the United States against Tehran?
I think they say that, Martha. It's difficult for them in some ways politically. So some of the things that they're able to say in private meetings are a little bit different than the same things that they say out loud, and their tone is a bit different. So I think you'll never have them be as full-throated as we would hope they could be. But I think their mission is exactly the same as ours with respect to Tehran.
All right. Spoken from someone who led the intelligence operations for our country and also the diplomatic operations. Thank you very much. Always good to see you, Secretary Pompeo.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Martha. Have a good afternoon.
You as well.